What is up, my energetic family? So, this is a very special video about my third eye activation, otherwise known as the pineal gland, the sixth chakra. Now, there are some similarities, I guess, with a lot of other people's activations. Mine personally, uh, did have some correspondence with the Kundalini awakening as well, and so that kind of changed things a little bit. So this started back in 2011. I was 17 years old, 4 years into kind of the whole new age stuff, meditation, chakras, different ideologies, philosophies, that kind of stuff. And so I wasn't quite, just an initiate that Googled, how do I get superpowers? But that is what attracted me to the sixth chakra was, the idea of cities or powers, telepathy, that kind of stuff, psychic. I was a bit naive, not quite naive, maybe unrealistically open minded. I don't know the word. Uh, yeah. So I was. I definitely, if I would have had a guru or a guide, maybe this would have been more balanced. But um, I did work on the lower chakras, but I could have had a much stronger foundation and a greater understanding about how to ground and balance energy. Because when you deal with really intense amounts of prana, it, it does get out of hand unless you know or are familiar with what you're doing. So essentially, being the radical individual that I am, I took psilocybin mushrooms the day before my senior year of high school. And I was with a friend, and uh, if you've ever done mushrooms, you get nauseous, right? And I thought, what's a better time than this to do a meditation that I've been wanting to do? I did do some research on meditating while on psychedelic substances, and so I was curious as to how it affect me subjectively. And so I took these mushrooms and chose to meditate on my third eye while we were just chilling. We were in his room and just relaxing, waiting for the nausea to pass. And so I started gathering energy to my third eye. And it's not the first time I had done this, but it is the first time while on a mind altering substance like psilocybin. And so I was gathering energy, gathering energy, gathering energy, and then I felt literally, I felt a pop. Like I just felt energy like almost oozing outward from my center of my brain. It was like, all right, something happened. I did something. I feel good. The nausea is not quite all the way past, but I feel a lot more comfortable than I did before. I think I spent about 15, 20 minutes meditating. And so, really, what I expected to happen was maybe to see some philosophical truths about the universe, maybe work my way through some of the personal emotional issues that I had. I was doing some uh, depressive depression issues, some low self-esteem. I just went through you know pretty difficult breakup, I guess. Every breakup is difficult at that age, and that's pretty much. I had low expectations, honestly. Anyways, about 4 hours later, after we've had our fun, we're not really in a mind altered state. We're pretty much back to reality. We just have a glow about us. And we were in a garage, me and the friend who took them, and we were with another person uh, who had just gotten off work. And we were all smoking weed, so just so you get the full picture, we were just relaxing in his garage. And the strangest thing is, I don't remember quite how I got to this point, but I just remember sitting on a chair and I had my eyes closed. And they were standing a few feet away talking, and I just had my eyes closed. But I saw a flash. Like, I've described it so many different ways. I've described it as yin yang, but it wasn't like a shape. I just saw a flash or a split. Now, there's a lock associated with the sixth chakra, and it's this barrier that the Kundalini energy has to break through in order to reach your sixth chakra. And what I think I did is I think I broke that lock without first awakening the Kundalini in the first place. Uh, I don't know. I've just done some research later on the subject, and I was very astounded to find out that that lock is associated with like a lightning flash, like flash of light. And that's like, holy crap, that's what I saw. But it wasn't just visual, it was ideological, it was conceptual. I saw like everything. I saw this antagonist. Like, I saw the antagonizer and the protagonizer, like in different variables and mediums and dynamics. And different scales, even too. Um, so, like, from the bully at school to the boss at work to the politician to government to diabolical hierarchies of the spiritual plane, just this force, right? Uh, and that's just one way to describe this, aspects of information that was in this flash. Because what I found out was when I tried to tell my friends what I saw, I froze. I couldn't even talk about it because I realized that trying to formulate that idea and compound it down into words and sentences is like taking packets of information of a terabyte and putting it in a text file, and there's no visual information, there's no auditory information, and so it was like a kilobyte file that I would be compounding that if I were to use Word. And so I realized whatever sentence I could come up with was not what I experienced. And so how do I tell you what I just experienced? And I just froze. And then that feeling of not being able to grasp it with words made me feel like I couldn't remember it anymore. And so I was like, I can't, like, this can't just be like one of those high moments. Like, I got to sit down and remember this. And so I sat back down and tried to just go back. And I didn't quite go back to the original flash, but I did ponder quite on, I guess, the frequency, the energy of the experience. And then I saw myself as just a consciousness, a ball of light, floating through space and time. And there were different pathways that I could choose, and basically I could experience whatever I wanted to experience. All I had to do was visualize it and then go do it. It was literally the law of attraction, but on a simplified scale. So it's like, why be depressed when I could instead imagine things that I wanted? Like, I wanted to make a cool bracelet out of some leather that I had. So what I did was I went and did that. I visualized something I wanted to do and went and did it. And I just didn't have any limits. So we lived 10 miles away from um, the next biggest city, and the bus system was terrible, right? And I didn't have a car, and so I always felt limited in where I could go. And then suddenly, after this experience, I was out the window because I just wanted to go there. So I'd get my longboard and I just go. And even though it took a little bit longer, I had fun, on my longboard getting there. And, it took some physical energy, but it was nothing because I realized like time and space was the illusion, and that's just the medium that I move through to reach the point or the experience that I want. And so this was a huge revelation for me. And just life became extremely simple. Like it was so simple. I kept chuckling to myself about how simple life was and how it's all harmonics. And you move towards that which brings you harmony, and that which is disharmonious, you just move away from it. And like every problem that exists in reality is fighting against the flow of harmony. Resisting change, resisting flow. Everything's flow. Um, Now, to really reiterate, I was quote unquote pretty normal, right? I started my senior year of school. I was really excited to go to school. I was waking up for school, which was unusual for me to wake up energized and awake and conscious. And then I went to school, did my schoolwork and stuff, and everything was fine for about a week. I had a lot of ideas about stuff. I had a lot of philosophical ideas, but nothing super outlandish. Nothing like, oh no, I see the spiritual world and everything. It was just, pretty basic stuff, honestly. And I was just like overwhelmed with positivity. I think the most powerful aspect of that week was I realized the truth of investing your conscious self into the now. Don't put it in the past, um, and don't put it too much in the future, right? Too much in the future is anxiety. Too much in the past is depression. And instead, it was all now. Whatever was happening now, that's where my energy was. So if it was on schoolwork, that's what I was focused on. If it was on having fun, that's what I was having fun on. And just my personality as a being, I brought a lot of energy to the table, especially when I'm happy. My happiness is fire. It fucking scares a lot of people. Uh, I know that for a fact because I played volleyball for PE, and I just went for it. I just had a ball. I was diving for the ball, scraping my knees. It was the sand, and I just thought, what the hell? I'm a competitive person, but I didn't do it to like for my ego to like win and show everyone I'm better. I did it for the thrill of trying. Well, the PE teacher was like, wow, no one's ever tried so hard in my class because, again, everyone's high school. They want to be cool. They want to be like, oh, PE, like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to not be cool. Uh, so they're just not involved, right? Well, I think my overall energy, enthusiasm that I brought kind of worried some people, right? So we have my first interaction with the instance of fear or concern, I guess. They thought I was on drugs because here they had a relationship with my personality over the last like year and a half of me being introverted, being low self esteem, being depressive, being, in my shell, in my bubble, and then suddenly the being of Darren bursts forth. And here I am, fire energy and enthusiasm, positivity, bring it, bring it, bring it, fearlessness, confidence. So yeah, they thought I was on drugs. Uh, Thought I was on some amphetamines, some methamphetamines probably. I don't know. But what happened is some police showed up at my door while I was at school, and they asked my mom if they could search my room, which of course, what did they find? They find marijuana paraphernalia, right? The only thing that is really ever found 99% of the time. So I get arrested at school, And they're walking me up, and the assistant is person like, "What did you do? Like, there's cops here." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, I haven't done anything. Like, I don't even care about drugs right now. Like, I'm having a great time. Like, I don't, like, I, I want to live life. I don't want to change my mental or emotional state with a substance. Like, I was way too interested in reality for that." Well, then the cops there, and they're asking me questions, and like I know what they're trying to do, and they're trying to get me to admit stuff that isn't true, and they're basically just, I don't know, like doing cop stuff. But I could see right through it. I could see what their intentions were. I could see the outcome of what they wanted their questions to be. That's a better way to put it. And so what I did is I just didn't do it, and they got frustrated, and they said, "All right, well, if you're going to be that way." So they cuffed me, and they put me in the cop car. And that's when it really hit me, was being handcuffed in a police car in the parking lot of my school. And just this wave of negative energy. Like, it's the only way I can describe it. It wasn't quite just fear or anxiety. It was like a wave of negativity. It just washed over me. And I started crying. Like, I saw myself on a peak of a precipice, right? I had conquered what I believed to be like all my problems, right? At 17 years old. And here I am crashing back down, going back into going into a court system and having my freedom taken away. And for some reason I just saw it as like the end all, like game over, repeat, like you cannot win. And I'm just crying. Like, it was terrible. But I realized something. I realized that I was a master alchemist. But at that time, I did not quite know a lot about alchemy. So for some reason, the term that popped in my head was math. I can invert numbers, and if I can retain this negative energy, I can mirror it and create positive energy. I was like, "Oh, this is wild. Okay." So I was like, just let it wash through me to my depths. And then I'm going to reflect it, right? And project it to a height of positive fire that will fuel my being, right? So I did that. And it almost felt like I sent out a call, like a vibration, right? Well, I remember looking out the window, and I saw the police officer, and he was like walking back and forth, and he was like on his phone, and he looked concerned. He looked like, "What is going on? Like, nothing's right here." Oh yeah, let me run this. When they handcuffed me, they said I was being charged. They said I was being charged with possession of marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine. Like, what? No, they found a marijuana pipe. So there was residue, right? So in the state of Utah, that's a possession of marijuana charge and a possession of paraphernalia charge, which they always drop, by the way. So possession of marijuana is what I got charged with, by the way. Anyways, so he's probably walking back and forth like, "Wait, we're not charging him with all this stuff? Oh, I'm so confused. Like, why did I say that?" type of attitude. I don't know what was going on, but that's just what he looked like. He did not know how to do his job. Anyways, so besides the point, suddenly someone knocks on the door, right, that I'm in the cop car of, opens it, and it's a man in like a white shirt, like a white polo shirt, shorts, just a regular old dude. And he's like, "You wanna ride with me?" And I was like, "Yeah," like, your energy, golden. Those guys with the 6-pointed stars on their, those egomaniacs with the authority trip. Yeah, I'd much rather go with you than them. So I get in his little Honda Civic, old, a 2008 Honda Civic. Like, what is going on? Uh, I know that seems really weird, but I was a minor, and he was the juvenile detention like director. So where they got DT, which is the where if I it's like jail, juvenile jail, right? But they also have AT. AT is the holding cells, the holding facility for minors. So they don't take you to jail. They take you to AT. You're there for a few hours until you get picked up. You're there for a day, whatever. And so I ride in the car with him. And it was right around here that things started to get weird, like wacky. Um, I don't even know how to really begin, but apparently just my mannerisms, behavior, eye contact, whatever, was a little strange. And so he asked me, he's like, "So what have you taken?" Right? And so that's such a past tense way to say it. He didn't say, "Did you take anything?" It was like, "What have you taken?" And so in my mind, he's asking me like my history, like my what have I ever taken? And I was like, well, he seems like someone who's alive in the 70s. I was like, well, acid, I've taken acid. Uh, I had taken acid one time prior. Um, and so he was like, okay, great, this kid is on acid. And to me, I thought I just told him my history, but instead it was just miscommunication. So I thought he was asking me stuff I took. So now he thinks I'm on acid, which is kind of my get out of jail free card to act weird, which I was, by the way. We get to AT, they want a urine sample, whatever. I give it to him. I'm like in such a great mood. Like everything's golden. He's telling me like this is his lifetime of the heart center, his heart chakra. I don't quite remember how he said it, but I was just like, yeah, like I am the same, like number 4, you know what I mean? That heart center, like, yeah, let's get it, the fire, which I know heart element is air, but whatever is fire. um, and oh boy, so the weird thing about it is I'm gonna cut this video off. This is gonna be part 1. This video is gonna be so damn long, but anyways, so some of the things that I saw at this facility was like I saw flies, right? We had to go kill these flies, and I had these delusions about the flies being energy. Like the flies were literally forms of negative energy that had manifested, and we had to quote unquote clean them. Right? We had to eliminate them. It was like a metaphor of spiritual practices manifested in a holographic third dimension. Uh, so, but I thought they were coming from nowhere, And then he was telling me about like these girls or some nonsense. And for some reason I thought that I had to get a wife from each continent, right? I needed 7 wives. And, later, much later after this experience was all over, I wondered if that was like a metaphor for the 7 chakras. Like I needed to find a union with each chakra type of thing. I don't know. I play with a lot of different concepts that I've experienced over that time. The weirdest aspect was his name was Wes, right? WES. And he'd tell me his name, and then he'd say, and then I'd say it back to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, your name is West." And he's like, "No, it's Wes, no T." And then I was like, "Oh, it's a secret. You are West, but, just West." I get it. And so that's like a little delusionment type of thing where you think you're in on a secret. And I thought the secret I was in on was that he was really the god of the direction West, right? New radical ideas, the the frontier. Like that's it. He's the personification of the energy West. Maybe he was. Maybe he didn't know that, but maybe he was. I don't know. He's definitely a real human being. I'll tell you that much. But that's what I imagined at the time, right? And so my mind was going crazy. Like I thought that my subconscious was creating. He was playing Pandora for us while we were cleaning, and I remember thinking that my subconscious was creating the algorithms, like picking each song for Pandora because each song just felt like the perfect song. Like it came from me, like I just connected to it so perfectly. And I thought I could walk through walls if I believed strong enough. I tried. It did not work, by the way. It did not work. I met a girl there, which was weird because it was co-ed, right? It was super weird. Name was Rain, and so I had this weird obsession with water. Water equals life, and here's a girl named Rain. Oh, and everything just has meaning, etc. The weirdest visual thing, and this was one of the few times that I actually saw something that wasn't there, was this girl got in trouble for opening milk, like chocolate milk. She was not allowed to open them, and she opened them anyway, and they got mad at her, and they're like, "You're in trouble now." She threw a fit, and they put her in her little cell, right? Now, this is AT. It's a holding facility. So you're not there, like, a long time. It's not like you live there. But she had to go clean up her room, right? Her cell. And I remember looking into the room and being like, what I'm looking at is not real. Because what I saw was like pink carpets, double bunk bed, like literally a girl's room. Like a high school girl's everyday room. And I was like, that's not real. There's no way that's real. But she was really upset she had to clean her room. And I thought how absurd it was that she was angry at people that were helping her. Like I thought, like they weren't being mean to her. It's not like they were threatening her, demeaning her, humiliating her, or anything. They were literally helping her. And she was angry with them. And I was like, what? You're angry. Like you're cleaning your room and you're mad about it. But cleaning your room's good. So I was really confused. It was wild. Absolutely wild. So basically I did end up leaving there. And before I start the next video, I just want to say that there were a few other times that I saw things that weren't real, but they were, to me, I knew they weren't real, right? There were times that I saw like a pile of money, and I remember thinking like, what is that, a temptation? That's what that is. It's a temptation. It's literally right there. It's tempting me to believe that it's real so that I'll try and take it. And I remember thinking that, like, that's not real. Like, yeah, I would love a bunch of money, but that is not real. And so I didn't try to take the money. And I'll get into that actual particular hallucination. That was one time I saw a pile of money. It's super weird, guys. So this experience lasted for 30 days. Landed me in a near-death experience in the mountains. Landed me in 2 different psych wards, which is literally Requiem of a Dream status. At least one of them was. I don't know. Like, please say something about this video. I know it's long. We're 30 minutes in, so my viewer retention is terrible as it is on a 6-minute video. But I know there's people like me that are interested in pineal activation. There's people that want to know the relationship between, bipolar and mania and schizophrenia and kundalini and the spiritual side of things, and I will go way deep into all that stuff. The reason I can is because I have both been crazy and not been crazy, right? I have been in and outside of the box. I know what the box is, right? I have a very, very solidified, objective, and subjective view or experience about all these types of paradigms. So, yeah, please watch the next video. You're gonna want to get into this. Wild. It gets wilder, guys. All right, I'll see you in a bit.